Welcome to the Dogs Podcast with your hosts, Blake Reneker, Justin Charles, and Josh All.
What's up, Browns fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Dogs Podcast. Josh all alone with you guys on a beautiful Thursday morning, breaking down the final, we've been waiting forever, it feels like, for the full release of the Browns 2025 season schedule, and we got it all last night. There were little leaks and everything throughout the day. We already knew a couple days ago that the Browns are going to be playing the Vikings over in London on October 5th in Week 5. And if you missed our episode with Joe Thomas kind of talking about that and then talking about the Browns season in general, go back and check that one out. Joe Thomas, man, what a legend and just a great guy to talk to. But today, just want to go through the schedule, and we're not doing, record predictions, the Browns are going to win this one. I peg them to lose, and we're not doing that today. What I want to do is just go through the schedule. If you missed the release or if you're just not familiar with the order of games that are coming up for the Browns this season, I'm going to break them down, go through them, and instead of talking about what I think is going to happen this season, because first of all, we don't even know who the quarterback's going to be to start the season. It's really hard to make any projections right now here in the middle of May. So what I want to do is just go back in time and look at the most recent time the Browns faced each opponent and the outcome of that game. So that's how we're going to go through this episode. Again, if you guys are, first of all, let me do this first. If you're listening on audio, please give us a 5-star review, especially on Apple. A written 5-star review goes a long way into helping the podcast and helping us get discovered by more and more Browns fans. Spotify, 5 stars always helps. We love that. And if you're watching on YouTube, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and tap the notification bell. And lastly, if you want to play fantasy football with us this upcoming season, I know it seems like we're a little ways off, but we really are not. Signups for the fantasy football leagues for the Dog Pack will open on June 1st. Head over to jointhedogs.com, become an official Dog Pack member on the Patreon page. You get access to the private Discord, and you can put your name in for fantasy football. And like we always tell people, as long as you sign up for fantasy football, we guarantee you a spot in a league. So, but it's getting your name on the registration list, being a part of the Patreon. That's the big step that you got to take to get into the league. So head over to jointhedogs.com. All right, so the first game, Week 1, the Browns open at home against the in-state rival Cincinnati Bengals. The last time, and I'm not going to do last year's home game against the Bengals, which honestly, if we'd have just started Jameis Winston the entire game, I think we would have won. That was the game Deshaun Watson blew out his Achilles and all that kind of stuff. So it was just a nasty, ugly game. But the last time the Browns played the Bengals at home in the season opener was the year before in 2023, and we completely dismantled them. If you remember, it was a rainy game. It was wet and sloppy. The Browns won 24-3. We held Joe Burrow. That was the first year of the Jim Schwartz defense, and Joe Burrow went 14 of 31 for just 82 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. Myles Garrett had that huge sack at the end of the game, which just kind of put the closer on that one. I mean, it wasn't even going to be a close game no matter what. But, Deshaun Watson, 16-29 for 154, touchdown and a pick. Nick Chubb, though, ran all over them, 18 for 106. I mean, me and Blake were at that game. Justin, too, we were all at that game. And it was just a lot of fun watching the Browns destroy the Bengals. So that's the Week 1 matchup this year in 2025. Week 2, the Browns stay in division, but this time it's on the road. We head over to Baltimore to face the Ravens. Last year, we ended the season in Baltimore against the Ravens, and you guys, I'm sure, all remember pretty well. It was a very blah game. It was just one of those, get through it, get this season over with. I'm tired of watching this crap. We started Bailey Zappi in that one, went 16 of 31 for $170, a touchdown, and 2 picks. Let's see, he took just the 1 sack, I guess, but this was the game. Deontay Foreman was our leading rusher. He carried the ball 10 times for just 27 yards. Yippee-ki-yay. Jerry Jeudy went 6 of 63. But other than him, I mean, again, we featured the tight ends a lot last year because we just couldn't get the ball to our wide receivers. Jordan Akins went 6 of 60 for a touchdown, but Derrick Henry ran all over the Browns defense in that one. And, by that point in the season, it was how high of a pick can we get? So we weren't we were not very competitive, and the Ravens were still, I believe, correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I think they were still hoping or maybe jockeying a little bit for playoff positioning because they played Lamar Jackson the whole game. He threw for 217, 2 touchdowns. Derrick Henry, like I said, ran all over us, 20 carries for 138 yards and 2 touchdowns. You're not giving Derrick Henry 20 carries in week 18 of the NFL season if you're not trying to position yourself somewhat for the playoffs. So I can't remember the situation now. It's lost on me. There's been so much stuff going on since then, but the Ravens ended up winning that one 35-10. It was not pretty. And it was just, again, thank God this season is over. Okay, now week 3, we come back home and the Browns host the Green Bay Packers. And you guys, I'm sure, remember this one. Going back to the last time the Browns played the Packers was in Green Bay on Christmas Day of 2021. And that was the game where, it was a long up and down, a lot of down season for Baker Mayfield and the Browns offense with that shoulder injury and just the way everything was going. It was not great vibes for Baker Mayfield's future in Cleveland. And this game was kind of the death nail for him from a lot of angles and in a lot of people's minds. Baker went 21 of 36, 222, 2 touchdowns, but he threw 4 interceptions, took 5 sacks, lost 33 yards on those sacks. This was a game where the Packers ended up winning 24-22. So it was very close. Even just one of those interceptions might have made the difference in this one, but instead of just 1 pick, he threw 4. And it just completely, this was the game where I remember seeing the clips on social media and everybody posting. He would have a very clean pocket. It was the happy feet. It was the moving around, running into pressure. It was the not seeing wide open guys over the middle. Jarvis Landry's running around. It was tough to watch. It really was. Nick Chubb dominated in this game, though. 17 for 126 and a touchdown. Man, going back and looking at some of these last matchups with teams, seeing these Nick Chubb stats, it hurts my heart not having Nick Chubb. But the injuries and everything, the age, it's just, at some point we were going to have to move on no matter what. And it's tough because I love Nick Chubb. But let's see, Nick Chubb, also the leading receiver in this game, 3 receptions for 58 yards. The actual leading receiver, wide receiver, was Rashard Higgins, 5 for 58. Aaron Rodgers on the other side of the ball, 202 for 3 touchdowns, no picks. Pretty clean game from the future Hall of Famer. Aaron Jones had 12 for 66, so not a big game rushing for anybody. But Devontae Adams, back when he was prime Devontae Adams with prime Aaron Rodgers, it was 10 catches, 114 yards, 2 touchdowns. You look at the stats between each team, and really the difference or the reason that this game stayed close was Nick Chubb. And, the Browns defense just doing enough to keep them from scoring too many points, but still 24-22. Browns lost in Green Bay. So that's the week 3 matchup, this time, though, at home in Cleveland. Week 4, back on the road. This time it's yet another. So we start off AFC North, and then we go NFC North, and then in week 5, NFC North again. But anyway, in week 4, it is up north to Michigan to play the Detroit Lions. The last time the Browns played the Lions was, it was at home in 2021, November 21st of that year. It was the same year that we played the Packers. Must have been another NFC North division schedule that season. Tim Boyle was the quarterback for the Lions. He threw for just 77 yards and 2 picks. No touchdowns. DeAndre Swift was their entire offense that game. 14 carries, 136 yards, and a touchdown. But the Browns did come out of this one barely by the skin of their you-know-whats. 13-10, the Browns won. Baker Mayfield, 176 yards, a touchdown, and 2 picks. So, this was about a month before that Green Bay game that I just recapped that season. And again, this just shows that things were just not going well for Baker and the Browns offense in 2021. Nick Chubb, again, though, the big story in this one, 22 carries, 130 yards, no touchdowns. But again, when you're scoring 13 points, there's not a lot of touchdowns to go around. It looks like Jarvis Landry had a rushing touchdown, 16-yard rushing touchdown. Oh, I'm sorry, Nick Chubb did have a touchdown, but it was receiving. 2 catches for 14 yards and a touchdown in that game. So here we are. Week 3 is the Packers. Last time we played them, we lost. And the last time we played the Lions, we won. So that's how the schedule's shaking out for the first month or so of the season. It's Bengals, Ravens, Packers, Lions. All right, week 5. We talked about this one on the last episode. It is the London game. The Browns and Vikings are both traveling over to London. They're going to face off. The Browns are technically the home team in this one, and it is a rematch of the 2017 London game where the Browns were technically the home team against the Vikings over in London, and the Vikings came out on top of that one, 33-16. Again, that was 2017, so we know that there's no chance the Browns are winning any games that season. That was the 0-16 season for the Browns. Case Keenum was the quarterback for the Vikings, 288, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Adam Thielen, their leading receiver, 5 for 98 and a touchdown. For the Browns, though, I'm sure you guys all want to hear who's playing in that game during that terrible season. It's been, 8 years now, almost, since that 0-16 season. And leading the way was Deshaun Kaiser, 18 of 34 for 179 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. Isaiah Crowell was the rushing leader, 11 for 64 and a touchdown. Receiving, you've got Isaiah Crowell, 4 for 54. Ricardo Lewis, 2 for 42. Hey, here's a familiar name, and I think there's only 2 or 3 guys on the current Browns team that was even around or on the team back in 2017, and one of them was David Njoku, 2 for 19. This would have been his rookie season. It would have been Myles Garrett's rookie season, and I do believe Joel Bitonio also on the team back in 2017. And then after that, there was no talent on this team to speak of. So that was your matchup way back in 2017 when the Browns didn't stand a chance in any game that season, but especially this one, losing 33-16 to the Vikings. So that is the week 5 matchup this year in London. This episode is sponsored by Omaha Steaks. Browns fans, when do you guys think is the unofficial start of summer? Actually, scratch that. I don't care about unofficial. The official start of summer is whenever I can get outside and start grilling. And there's nothing like grilling on Memorial Day. And right now, during Omaha Steaks Memorial Day sale, you guys can get 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners, you guys get an extra $35 off when you use promo code BARK, B-A-R-K, at checkout. I say it all the time. My freezer always stocked with Omaha Steaks. We just did steaks this past week. I did smash burgers yesterday for lunch. The Omaha Steak products are incredible. So you can bring home the world's best steak experience with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide during their Memorial Day sale. And for that extra $35 off, use promo code BARK, B-A-R-K, when you check out. That's omahasteaks.com. See site for details. So then week 6, if I read everything correctly, I believe the Browns had an option on when they wanted their bye week. If they wanted the bye week after the London game, which would have been week 6, kind of early in the season, or if they wanted a later bye week, they opted for the week 9 bye week. So they're going to come back from London in week 5 and play in week 6, and they're going to be on the road in Pittsburgh. So this is going to be a tough little area of the schedule for sure, because you got to do the travel over to London, play the Vikings, the travel back, and then you're on the road immediately against a division opponent. And it's the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's always a tough game. We dog on them all the time. Mason Rudolph this, and even if it's Aaron Rodgers that, whatever, they're still going to be a tough opponent. And the last season when we went to Pittsburgh to play, it did not turn out well at all. It was 27-14 in favor of the Steelers. Jameis Winston in that game, if I recall correctly, started out okay. He had the nice long touchdown pass to Jerry Jeudy, who ended up with 5 for 64 and a touchdown. David Njoku caught 7 for 42 and a touchdown. Jameis Winston, 212 yards, 2 touchdowns, but he also threw 2 picks. And this was the game where Dustin Hopkins missed every field goal, PAT attempt possible. If you put him out there, it was going to be a miss. Nick Chubb did play in this game, 11 for 48. This was post injuries, Nick Chubb and everything. And our offensive line just was not blocking the best last season. On the Pittsburgh side, Russell Wilson, 158 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Najee Harris ran pretty well against us, 16 for 53 and a touchdown. It's Pittsburgh, and it's going to be right after we get back from London. So I think this will be a tough part of the schedule, but we will see how things go. Again, last year, didn't go in the Browns' favor. Hopefully things change here in 2025. All right, week 7, we are back to Cleveland. Home game against the Miami Dolphins. We played at home against the Dolphins last year as well. And we got spanked in that one, 20-3. That was another game toward the end of the season. And, we were starting Dorian Thompson-Robinson. So once they made the switch from Jameis Winston to DTR, it was, okay, this season has been completely phoned in. We are not going to be trying to compete for anything here. And we didn't compete in this one at all, 20-3. Tyler Huntley, who started the season with the Browns, was the quarterback for the injured Tua Tagovailoa in this one. He went 22 of 26, 225 and a touchdown. So a pretty good game from Tyler Huntley in this one. He was also their leading rusher, 7 carries for 52 yards and a touchdown. So we kind of just let Tyler Huntley manhandle and beat us in this one. DTR, 24 of 47. This was kind of the story for DTR when he played last year. Throws a crap ton of passes, completes not very many of them for just 170 yards. He was not putting up any sort of yardage. No touchdowns. I don't think DTR threw any. Does he have any NFL touchdown passes? I can't remember off the top of my head. I have to go look at the stats, but if he does, it's probably like 1. But I know he has picks. He's got at least 11 or 12 picks in his career, and there was one of them in this game. Jerry Jeudy, though, caught 12 of those. 47 passes for 94 of those 170 yards. Obviously no touchdowns because DTR doesn't throw those. Deontay Foreman was our running back, 13 for 49. Tyreek Hill on the other side of the ball caught 9 for 105. And the Browns in another wet, sloppy game there in Cleveland just didn't have a chance. 20-3, Browns lost. Hopefully we get a little bit of revenge on the Dolphins this year, and that will be the Week 7 matchup in 2025. And then we roll into Week 8. The last game before our Week 9 bye week, and we are on the road to play the New England Patriots. So the last time we played the Patriots was in 2022, and this was during Deshaun Watson's suspension period. So Jacoby Brissett started and played this game, 21 of 45, 266, a touchdown, 2 picks. Not a very clean game at all from Jacoby. The Browns end up losing this one badly, 38-15. The Patriots just annihilated us in this one. Bailey Zappi was their quarterback. It's funny because we already talked about Bailey Zappi playing for the Browns last year against the Ravens. Well, when Bailey Zappi played against the Browns in 2022 for the Patriots, 309 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. This was when Bailey Zappi kind of looked like, hey, maybe he's a dude. He's not. He was never going to be. But the Browns defense in 2022, you remember Joe Woods, the Joe Woods special was making whoever we're playing look a hell of a lot better than they actually are. Ramondre Stevenson ran on us, 19 for 76 and 2 touchdowns. Nick Chubb, 12 for 56. I'm pretty sure he had a fumble in this game, if I remember correctly. I think was it raining in this one? Some of these older games it's kind of hard to remember, but DPJ, Donovan Peoples-Jones popping up at top of the box score, 4 for 74, our leading receiver. So that game was at home. Browns losing 38-15. This time in 2025, Week 8, we'll be on the road in New England. Week 9 bye week. Coming out of that Week 9 bye week is a game that, going back in history, I actually don't have a problem talking about this one because Week 10 we play the New York Jets. We go to New York, or New Jersey, I guess, to play the Jets. And the last time the Browns played the Jets was 2023 on that Thursday night football game we all remember so fondly when the Browns clinched the playoff spot that season against all odds. 37-20, the Browns won in Cleveland. Joe Flacco, the hero of really that season, of that game specifically as well. 19 of 29, 309 yards, 3 touchdowns, a pick. And David Njoku was a dominant force. And I'm pretty sure most of this production, if not all of it, was in the first half of that game. 6 for 134. No touchdowns there. Jerome Ford had that beautiful little dump-off catch where Joe Flacco evaded I think it was like a face mask and got out of the pocket, dumped it off to Ford, who took it 50 yards for the touchdown. He ended up with 2 for 57 and 2 scores. Elijah Moore came alive in this one, 5 for 61 and a touchdown. Jerome Ford on the ground, 12 for 64. The Browns were just dominant in this game. I believe this was the Ronnie Hickman pick 6 game. It was a ton of fun. On the other side, Trevor Siemian, not great. 32 of 45, 261, a touchdown and a pick. Breece Hall, 13 carries, 84 yards. Garrett Wilson, 5 for 50. the Browns just steamrolled them pretty much in this one. They scored a little bit later in the game. I think the Jets to make it a little closer, but still 37-20 in the Browns' favor, kind of putting that was the 11th win for that season, because then we sat everybody the following week in Cincinnati. So that was our playoff push. That was our clincher. And this year in 2025, it'll be in New York against the Jets for Week 10. Week 11, we come back to Cleveland and we host Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens that week. And the last time we played the Ravens at home was one of the few times we actually won a game in 2024. That's right. We came out, it was only our second win last season, and I think we really stunned them because Jameis Winston started this game. It was his first start of the season, and he goes 27 of 41, 334 yards, 3 touchdowns, and surprisingly, no picks. And the big joke going around social media this entire pre-draft process was Kyle Hamilton dropped a wide open interception that hit him right in the hands. And if Kyle Hamilton catches that ball from Jameis, it was a layup interception. He just dropped it. If he catches that, he picks it off. The Ravens win this game because the Browns end up scoring on that drive, if I remember correctly. The Ravens would have won that game. We would have ended up with the number 1 overall pick in the draft, and we would have Cam Ward as our quarterback right now. But Kyle Hamilton drops the pick. The Browns end up winning this game. As the season plays out, we end up with the number 2 pick. And there's no quarterback worthy of that number 2 pick. So we don't use that pick on a quarterback. It's just kind of crazy how one play like that, you can look back in a game in a season and say, man, that one play changed so much for the Browns. This game also, sadly enough, featured the Derrick Henry truck stick against JOK, which I'm not putting any blame on Derrick Henry. I mean, it was just a football play. It was a running back finishing a run. A linebacker trying to make a tackle, and just fluky things happen in football games. This was not a Minka against Nick Chubb type of situation, but just really sad. This was the game, Week 8 last year. JOK suffered the neck injury, and as we mentioned on the last episode, we haven't really done a segment on it, but you guys all know JOK now placed on the reserve PUP list, not going to play at all here in 2025. So just hoping he gets better, but Nick Chubb did run in this game, 16 for 52. Cedric Tillman, this was the big Cedric Tillman breakout game. 7 catches, 99 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Just dominant. And this was where we started to see that, what Cedric Tillman is capable of doing, and hoping that would continue throughout the season. It didn't because of the concussion, but the Browns obviously have high hopes and expectations for him going into 2025. On the other side, Lamar Jackson, 289 and 2 touchdowns, no picks. So Lamar played a clean game. Derrick Henry, 11 for 73 and a touchdown. The Ravens played well. The Browns offense, for the first time all season, I think this was the first time we put up over 20 points the entire season, and we damn near hit 30. So 29-24 was the final. The Browns win their second game of 2024. They'd only win one more after that. So we'll see how it goes this year. Week 11, when the Browns host the Ravens in Cleveland. Week 12 features a rematch, a rerun it back of last year's Week 4. The Browns back on the road out to Vegas to face the Raiders. It was a game last year where the Browns had no reason, no purpose losing that game. We lost 20-16. We had every edge against the Raiders. We had every opportunity to beat them. We had the massive Amari Cooper play that was called back, and it was one of those games where early on we should have, as a lot of people did know, we should have known a little bit better. And looking back now, it's clearly obvious this offense just wasn't going to work at all. Deshaun Watson wasn't going to work at all. 176 yards. He was 24-32, touchdown and a pick. Just could not close this game out. On the ground, Jerome Ford, 10 for 58. Jerry Jeudy was the leading receiver, 6 for 72. But like I said, Amari Cooper, 4 for 35. Should have had a massive game for Cooper, but that big play was called back. On the other side of the ball, Gardner Minshew didn't do a lot. 14-24 for 130 yards. We really held them in check. Alexander Madison ran 5 for 60. He had a long of 24. Zamir White, 17 of 50. Like, we did not let them do a ton, but this was the game where it was not their lead backs, their main running backs who did stuff. DJ Turner, some random wide receiver for the Raiders, had an 18-yard carry for a touchdown. Brock Bowers carried for 12 yards. Tyreek McAllister, whoever that is, ran 2 for 11. And then Trey Tucker, another wide receiver, scored a touchdown on a rush. So we got tricked and fooled on defense a little bit. They end up beating us 20-16. So hopefully things fare better for the Browns this year, but that Raiders team is going to be much improved with Geno Smith and some of the receivers they added, like Jack Besh in the draft and all that kind of stuff. They've got Ashton Genty. It's going to be an interesting game. It's going to be an exciting game to watch because of some of the names in that game. But we'll see if the Browns can change the course of luck that, was down last year when we lost in Vegas. Maybe this year we can win in Vegas. We'll see. But that will be week 12 this season. Week 13 takes us back to a very fond memory from that 2023 magical season. In week 13, the Browns will host the San Francisco 49ers in Cleveland. The last time we played the 49ers, like I said, was 2023. We played them in Cleveland, and this was the game where, just spoiler alert, but at the end, if their kicker, was it Jake Moody? I think it was Jake Moody. If he makes his field goal at the end of the game, the Browns lose this game. But he missed it, and we end up winning. It was a last-second field goal attempt. We end up winning 19-17. P.J. Walker, in the rain, wearing the white helmet and all that kind of stuff here against the 49ers, went 18 of 34, 192 yards, no touchdowns, and 2 picks. Terrible game by P.J. Walker. Tried to give the game away at the end, if you remember. Tried to throw a pick in the end zone, forcing a pass, but it was dropped, thankfully. Jerome Ford, 17 for 84. Kareem Hunt ran 12 for 47 and a touchdown. Amari Cooper caught just 4 passes, but 108 yards on the day. And on the other side of the ball, Brock Purdy, not the best game for him. 12 for 27, 125 yards, a touchdown and a pick. Christian McCaffrey, 11 for 43. He ended up going out in this one injured. Brandon Ayuk led them in receiving, 4 for 76. But the Browns defense held the 49ers where they needed to. The offense did just enough to get the job done. 19-17. The Browns squeak away a win here on their path to an 11-6 playoff season. And obviously we had no idea we would be rolling with Joe Flacco as the season progressed. But in this one, it was P.J. Walker. So we'll see. This is week 13 in 2025 at home against the 49ers. And I don't even know who the quarterback is going to be week 1. So God only knows who it's going to be week 13. But I'm along for the ride just like you guys are. 49ers week 13 in Cleveland. This episode is sponsored by Manly Bands. Guys, is your wedding band old, outdated, or just not the same taste you had when you were younger? Or hey, maybe you're about to get married, but you don't want to deal with the salespeople at the jewelry stores. Manly Bands has the best wedding bands made specifically for men. They have the classic, timeless gold and white gold styles, but they also have rings made from platinum, black zirconium, tungsten, titanium, even materials like meteorite and dinosaur bone. Yes, your wedding ring could be made from a dinosaur fossil. That is a real thing. They also have different ring collections, like their Jack Daniels rings made from actual Jack Daniels whiskey barrels. They also have Lord of the Rings and DC Comics band collections. Head over to manlybands.com/dogs and take advantage of their 30% off sale with free shipping. Plus, use promo code DAWGS, DAWGS, when you check out for another 10% off your order. Now, every Manly Band comes with a free silicone ring, and if you don't know your ring size, that's okay. You can order a free ring size chart from Manly Bands to make sure that you know exactly the right size before you order. And then if you get your ring and it doesn't fit just right, you can always return it or exchange it without any hassle. And I know this because I like my rings to be a little more loose, and the first band that I got was just a little too snug for the way I like to wear it, so I exchanged it, and the whole process was quick, easy, and I had my new ring in no time. And now, Manly Bands is even accessorizing men beyond just your wedding rings with their chain necklaces and chain bracelets made for men by men. And if you need groomsmen gifts or anything else, Manly Bands has you covered with their barware, whiskey glasses, flasks. They even have customized coasters and flight trays. So skip the jewelry stores, avoid the salespeople, and get a wedding band that was designed for you. Manlybands.com/dogs to get 30% off, free shipping, plus get an extra 10% off when you use code DAWGS, DAWGS, when you check out. Now, this one could be very, very exciting in week 14, all depending on who's playing quarterback, because the Browns will host the Tennessee Titans. Presumably Cam Ward, the number 1 overall pick, unless there's an injury or something during the season, will be the quarterback in week 14 whenever they come in here to play the Browns. And who knows, maybe it'll be Shedeur Sanders playing. Those two had the rivalry, projected number 1, number 2 quarterbacks in this draft class and everything. They worked out together throughout the pre-draft process, all that kind of stuff. It would be cool, in my opinion, to see those two square off in this game in Cleveland, but we'll see who ends up being the quarterback at that point for the Browns. It will be Cam Ward, like I said, unless there's an injury to him prior to this game. But week 14, Titans at Browns. The last time these two teams played was in Cleveland. We go back again to that awesome 2023 season. And this was early on. This was week 3 of that season. So Deshaun Watson was still healthy. This was before the shoulder injury, still the quarterback for the Browns. And this was, I don't think we can even argue this, clearly Deshaun Watson's best overall game as a Cleveland Brown. Really the only strong, solid game we saw from him from start to finish. He went 27 of 33, 289, 2 touchdowns, no picks. If you guys remember, he had another long touchdown pass on the sideline to Amari Cooper that was called out of bounds on the catch, which I remember this so well. Amari Cooper was a clear 2 feet away from the sideline. Don't know how they called him out of bounds. Just the NFL officiating is a joke. But anyway, I'm not trying to wallow in former pities. Amari Cooper did end up with 7 for 116 and a touchdown despite missing out on that other big touchdown play. Pierre Strong, actually the leading rusher in this game, 6 for 27. So we didn't do a whole heck of a lot on the ground with our running game, but we didn't need to. Deshaun Watson was very efficient in this one. The Browns ended up winning 27-3. It was another, we beat the Bengals to open the season 24-3. Then week 2, we go and we lose Nick Chubb in Pittsburgh, and that's just sucks everything out of the team. We lose a close game over there to the Steelers. Come back week 3 and dominate the Tennessee Titans. Ryan Tannehill was their quarterback then, 13-25 for just 104 yards. So that was 2 quarterbacks in 3 weeks that we stifled in Joe Burrow and Ryan Tannehill. Derrick Henry, who, we talked about him now with the Ravens against the Browns last year, did nothing against this Jim Schwartz defense in 2023. 11 carries for just 20 total yards. Complete domination by the Browns. Beat the Titans, like I said, 27-3. So we'll see how things go here in 2025, but that will be the week 14 matchup. Tennessee coming in to play Cleveland. Okay, just 4 games left to go on the schedule. Week 15, the Browns go on the road to Chicago to play the very much revamped Chicago Bears with Ben Johnson as their new head coach. Second-year Caleb Williams. They have retooled that offensive line. They have continued to build the offensive weaponry around Caleb Williams with the tight end Loveland in the draft. Then they got Luther Burden to go with DJ Moore and Rome Odunze from last year. They got DeAndre Swift. It'll be interesting to see how this one goes late in the season in Chicago, like I said. But the last time the Browns played the Bears is one that is very fond and near and dear to me because I was at this game and it was the most incredible seats I've ever had at a Browns game. I sat 2 rows back from the field on the 50-yard line. It was spectacular view and just a great time. Also because the Browns completely destroyed the Bears 26-6. And I got to stop myself right here. I did say that was the last time the Browns played the Bears. It was not. The Browns played the Bears in 2023, whenever Joe Flacco had that 250 passing yard fourth quarter or whatever to end up beating the Bears. The reason I wanted to go to this game in 2021 was because I was there and it was just a ton of fun. So I just wanted to talk about it. It was, Justin Fields went 6 of 20 for just 68 yards. It was the game Myles Garrett had the 5 sacks, just completely dominant over the Bears. Baker Mayfield, not like a massive game, but it was a good game for him that season. 246 and a touchdown. Nick Chubb, 22 for 84. But Kareem Hunt, really the rushing story in this one, 10 for 81 and a touchdown. OBJ caught 5 for 77. I think that's the first time I've mentioned Odell Beckham Jr. so far today. But, the Browns beat the Bears here. And then, of course, the last time the Browns did play the Bears in Cleveland again in 2023. They ended up winning 17-14. And remember, there was that Hail Mary pass at the end where the Bears damn near caught it. And it was we almost lost that game, but we didn't. Joe Flacco, that was a game that I use a lot to reference his interceptions because he did throw, he threw a pick 6 to give the Bears a score. and he threw another interception that got returned to like the 2-yard line. The Bears ended up scoring on that. So of their 17 points, 14 of them were pretty much gift wrapped and handed to them by Joe Flacco and the Browns offense. So the defense did enough. Joe Flacco did enough to come back in this one. We end up winning 20-17 in that game in 2023. But there it is. The last 2 times we played the Bears, we have won. This year's going to be a little different. We're going to be on the road this time in Chicago, but that will be the Week 15 matchup. Week 16, the Browns get to host the reigning NFL MVP and the Buffalo Bills. That's right. Josh Allen is coming into Cleveland. The last time the Browns played the Bills was on the road in Buffalo in 2022. That's right, because it was Jacoby Brissett. So the Browns end up losing that one. The Bills win 31-23. So not a big loss for the Browns in this one. Jacoby Brissett had, I'm not looking at his entire stat line here for the season, had to be his best game of the season for the Browns. 28-41, 324 yards and 3 touchdowns for Jacoby. Very impressive. Amari Cooper, 8 for 113 and 2 scores. Donovan Peoples-Jones, 5 for 61 and a touchdown. Nick Chubb in this one, 14 carries, just 19 yards. Very bad game for Nick Chubb. Kareem Hunt with the 5 for 32. On the other side of the ball, Josh Allen, not a massive game for him. He got outplayed by Jacoby. He was 18-27 for 197 and a touchdown, but it was the running game for the Bills that the Browns just could not stop. Again, Joe Woods' defense in 2022. Devin Singletary, 18 for 86 and 1. James Cook, 11 for 86. So you had 2 running backs put up 86 yards against you. That's just not great. They had 171 yards rushing in total. Just not a good game for the Browns defense. They end up losing 31-23. Like I said, that was in Buffalo. This year, Week 16, the Bills come to Cleveland, and we'll get to see Josh Allen in what will most likely be another Bills playoff push here this season. Down to our last 2 games of the season. We start the season with 2 divisional games, and we will end the season with 2 divisional games. And the first one here in Week 17 will be at home against the Pittsburgh Steelers. The last time last season when the Browns played the Steelers at home, we all remember it was that Thursday night game, the Snow Bowl, and the Browns came out victorious in that one, 24-19. It was our 3rd win of the season, and we would not win another after this. But it was such an exciting game, a great night to be a Browns fan. It was so much fun. Jameis Winston, 18-27, 219 and a pick, but he had that incredible touchdown run down by the goal line. Nick Chubb carried the ball 20 times for 59 yards. He did score twice in this game, so it was nice to see him punching in touchdowns against the Steelers after they're the ones who pretty much ended his career the season before. Jerry Jeudy caught 6 for 85 despite the terrible conditions. Jeudy was just on a freaking roll with Jameis Winston at quarterback. On the other side of the ball, Russell Wilson, not a bad game for him, 21 of 28, 270 yards and a touchdown, no picks, but he took 4 sacks. The Browns defense was getting after it in this one. They put up 120 yards rushing against us. It's really all you could try to do in this game was run the ball, and we just were not very good at it on our side. The Steelers, obviously, much better rushing team than the Browns. Calvin Austin, their leading receiver, 3 for 78 touchdown. But the main takeaway from this game is it was in Cleveland. We had no business winning the game, and yet we did. Came out on top. It was a fun, exciting game, but it would be the last one we would win. So the last time we saw the Browns win a game, this was the one. And this will be the Week 17 matchup. The Browns host the Steelers in Cleveland. And then to end the season, we start the season at Week 1 at home against the Bengals, and we will end the season on the road, Week 18, against the Bengals. When we went to Cincinnati last season, not pretty for the Browns whatsoever. We got beat 24-6. It was another Dorian Thompson-Robinson game. Just pretty much, if we're talking about a game in 2024, you can pretty much assume it was a loss. If we ever mention Dorian Thompson-Robinson, you can assume it was a bad turnout for the Browns. 157 yards, no touchdowns, 2 picks, took 5 sacks. It's like all the dude did was take sacks. Jerome Ford had a nice game, 11 for 92 and a touchdown, but he did have a long of 66, which means he had 10 carries for less than 30 yards outside of that one run, which if I remember correctly, that was the first play of the game, I think, for the Browns. David Njoku caught 8 for 66, but on the other side of the ball, Joe Burrow just dicing us up, 252 and 3 touchdowns. Chase Brown did whatever he wanted on the ground, 18 for 91. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Chase was 6 for 97 and touchdown. Higgins was 8 for 58 and touchdown. Just all around bad game for the Browns. So we got swept by the Bengals in 2024. I think that was the first time we got swept by the Bengals since 2017, I believe is the stat I saw. Joe Burrow, I think if I got the stats correctly, his 3-5 career record against the Browns, and 2 of those wins were last season. So the Browns still very much have an edge against the Bengals, it seems, every time we played them. When we played them at home last year, like I said earlier in the episode, we would have won probably if Jameis Winston had started that whole game. But the first half was the dink and dunk, I'm afraid to go beyond 5 yards down the field passing from Deshaun Watson. And, unfortunately, he ruptured his Achilles. You don't ever want to see a guy go down to a brutal injury. But, Jameis came in after that, and then it became a game, and we damn near won. We didn't, but we were close. Either way, didn't win a whole lot last year. I think I've beat that horse to death brutally during this episode. But that will wrap up your 2025 Cleveland Browns season. So to go back through it, week 1 at home against the Bengals, week 2 on the road against the Ravens, week 3 back home against the Packers, week 4 on the road against the Lions, week 5 not back home, but we are technically the home team in London against the Vikings. Then we come back to the USA and go to Pittsburgh in week 6 against the Steelers. Week 7 is home against the Dolphins. Week 8 is away against the Patriots. Week 9 is the bye week. Week 10 on the road against the Jets. Week 11 back home against the Ravens. Week 12 on the road in Vegas against the Raiders. Week 13 back home against the 49ers. Week 14 we stay at home against the Titans. And then on the road in week 15 against the Bears. Week 16 back home against the Bills. Week 17 we stay home against the Steelers. And we end the season in week 18 on the road in Cincinnati against the Bengals. So there you have it. Drop it in the comments. I didn't do any predictions or, record projections or anything like that for these games, but I'm sure you guys going through the schedule, it's the fun thing to do. So let me know, what do you guys think the record's going to be for the Browns this season? Who starts at quarterback week 1 and who starts at quarterback in week 18 against the Bengals when we play them again? Is it the same person? Probably not, given the Browns' track record and history at the quarterback position. And, there you have it. So let me know you guys' thoughts on the schedule in total, who plays quarterback, all that fun stuff. But I appreciate you guys so much tuning in. Again, if you want to play fantasy football with us this season, get your name on the registration sheet early this summer, June 1st. Everything opens up in the dog pack on the Patreon. So get in now, jointhedogs.com. It's just $5 a month. Your contribution really helps support the show. It helps us continue to grow the content and grow the platform. And you get access to the private Discord. You get into it's just a great Browns fan community. Great people in there, guys and gals from across the world, not just here in the United States. A lot of cool people, and we have great conversations in there. You get into the fantasy football leagues, all that stuff. You get entered into any contest we run. We run a lot of contests exclusively in the Patreon for the Dog Pack members, so you don't want to miss any of that. JoinTheDogs.com. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I will catch you guys in the next one.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Dogs Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Twitter at The Dogs Podcast. Get your thoughts on the show at thedogspodcast.com.
This episode is brought to you by Danger Coffee. Browns fans, we talk about how Danger Coffee is made free from mold toxins that are in 45% of the world's coffee, but that's not all that Danger Coffee has to offer. Mineral and nutrient deficiencies are a big deal. They make you feel sick, tired, stressed, and they can give you brain fog. These deficiencies negatively affect your immune system, your digestion, sleep, metabolism. Have you ever wondered why you get an initial burst from your coffee, but then you get that little crash not long after? Danger Coffee's patent-pending process remineralizes your body with more than 50 trace minerals and electrolytes, leaving you more energized, engaged, powerful. These micronutrients enter the cells to boost performance. They bind to toxins to provide detoxification support. I know that sounds like a lot, but the bottom line, guys, is minerals matter, and most of us really don't get enough of them on a daily basis. Danger Coffee delivers micronutrients, plus it gives you access to the minerals you already have. Head to dangercoffee.com, use our code DAWGS, DAWGS, for 10% off your order. And that code can be used over and over. So you get 10% off every order you make using code DAWGS. It's time to start every day off with a cup of coffee that gets you going and actually keeps you going. Dangercoffee.com, code DAWGS.